Ethan Brooks was a high school history teacher in the small town of Maplewood, where not much ever seemed to happen. The streets were lined with old, familiar houses, and the people here carried on the same routines every day. But one bright autumn afternoon, something extraordinary happened that would change the town and Ethan's life forever. It all started when the town council decided to dig up an old-time capsule buried nearly 100 years ago. The capsule was thought to contain letters, photographs, and memorabilia from the past, things that would show the residents of Maplewood what life was like a century ago. But when the workers finally unearthed it, they discovered something completely unexpected. The capsule was too modern for its time, made of materials that shouldn't have existed in the 1920s. Its sleek metallic surface gleamed as if it had just been buried yesterday. The capsule was locked, with no visible way to open it. The mayor, baffled by the discovery, called Ethan, knowing his background in historical artifacts. Ethan arrived at the scene, and as he examined the capsule, he felt a strange sensation, as though it was vibrating gently in his hands. Intrigued, he decided to take it home to study it further. That night, Ethan sat at his kitchen table, staring at the mysterious object. He turned it over in his hands, running his fingers along the smooth, flawless surface. There was no keyhole, no latch, nothing that hinted at how it could be opened. But as he placed it back on the table, he noticed a faint, glowing symbol appear, as if responding to his touch. "Unlock," he whispered half-jokingly. To his shock, the symbol pulsed, and the capsule clicked open. Ethan's heart raced as he carefully lifted the lid. Inside, he found a collection of objects that seemed far too advanced for his time. Small tablets with screens, thin sheets that shimmered with information, and a photograph of Maplewood that looked decades into the future. The image showed buildings he didn't recognize, and people wearing clothes unlike anything he'd seen before. But the most unsettling discovery was a letter addressed directly to him. "Dear Ethan," it began, "if you are reading this, then you've found our message. We come from a time far ahead, and we have placed this capsule here as a warning." Ethan's hands trembled as he continued reading. The letter spoke of a future where climate disasters, technological revolutions, and societal upheaval had reshaped the world. It described events that seemed impossible but were explained with such detail that Ethan couldn't dismiss them. "The choices you make today," the letter continued, "will determine the future of Maplewood and beyond. If you follow the instructions we've left, you may be able to prevent the worst of what is to come." Ethan spent the rest of the night examining the contents of the capsule. Each object held clues, instructions, or data, urging him to take action. There were blueprints for renewable energy sources, plans for sustainable farming practices, and even a device designed to measure environmental pollution levels in real time. Over the following weeks, Ethan became consumed by the capsule's message. He shared his findings with a few trusted friends and community members, forming a small group dedicated to implementing the changes suggested in the letter. They began working tirelessly, converting old buildings into energy-efficient structures, setting up community gardens, and educating others about the importance of sustainability. But as they made progress, strange things began to happen. Unexplained power outages, mysterious figures watching them from a distance, and even warnings from people who were suddenly opposed to their efforts. One night, Ethan received an anonymous message that simply read, "Stop what you're doing or face the consequences." Undeterred, Ethan pressed on, determined to fulfill the mission set by the capsule. He knew that the stakes were too high to turn back. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that forces beyond his control were aware of his every move. Then, one evening, as he was reviewing plans for the next phase of their project, a knock echoed through his house. He opened the door to find a stranger, a tall, stern man in a dark suit, standing on his doorstep. "I believe you have something that doesn't belong to you," the man said, his gaze cold and piercing. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "I don't know what you're talking about." The man's eyes narrowed. "Return the capsule and all its contents. Some things are not meant to be altered." Before Ethan could respond, the man vanished into the darkness, leaving him with a sense of dread. That night, he hid the capsule in a secret location, fearing that others might come to take it. Months passed, and the changes Ethan had initiated began to take root in Maplewood. The town was transformed. New, sustainable practices had revitalized the community, and people were beginning to see the positive effects of the work Ethan and his group had done. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was still being watched, that someone, somewhere, was waiting for him to make a mistake. Then, one final letter appeared, slipped under his door in the dead of night. It read, "Your work is not done, but you have done well. The future is always shifting, and because of you, we now have hope. Keep the capsule hidden, for it may be needed again. And remember, the future belongs to those who dare to change it." As Ethan read the last line, he felt a profound sense of purpose settle over him. He knew that his work was far from over, and though he would never fully understand who had sent the capsule or why, he was grateful for the opportunity it had given him and the town of Maplewood, a chance to build a better future.